There we go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations of the timeline and go beyond the posts. I'm your host, Slows Def, and I'm back here for episode 216 of the platform. Welcome back to anybody who is a returning viewer. If you're brand new to the channel, I'd like you to hit that subscribe button while you're here. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit that like button to help the algorithm. And ultimately, if you know anybody that's interested in the content, man, share it, share the content, man. Let put people on. You know what I'm saying? So, this week I'm pretty excited about our episode. I'm in a good mood. Yes, it is Thanksgiving week, and so obviously everybody have I'm sure everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving meals. Hopefully you got some good eats that you couldn't get in a while. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit about our Thanksgiving experiences. But this week's episode, I'm pretty excited, man. We got some good topics. We're definitely gonna be talking about sports. When it comes to sports, we're gonna be talking about Shedeur Sanders again, his actual first start. So we talked about his debut, and then we're gonna talk about his actual first start, and just kind of compare and kind of maybe give an outlook of what the rest of his season possibly could look like, right? So we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders in that part of sports. We're also going to talk about my Packers, right? Because my Packers looks like they have kind of gotten things together and they've kind of righted the ship a little bit. So we're going to talk about them winning 3 in a row and kind of where they stand, especially after that big win on Thanksgiving Day in Detroit, and coming out with that big victory. So we'll talk about where the Packers stand, even mention like where the Eagles are currently in the playoff race, but also like the state of their team, right? We are going to talk about music. We're talking about Wale's album. I've listened to it now a couple of times, and I'm gonna give my take on it, right? So I like it, but it might not be the take that people are expecting to hear, or maybe it's not the take that people want to hear necessarily about this particular album, because I know a lot of people like it. What else we gonna talk about? Oh, we're gonna talk about Eddie Murphy, the Eddie Murphy documentary that I seen on Netflix. Being Eddie, it was just really eye opening and really captivating, real good thing. And then last thing, or actually, this is what we'll probably open up the show with. And we're gonna talk about staying in school because Juelz Santana went on to a podcast, and I would say that he gave a wild message about being in school and what's important, which you should prioritize. And just in general, man, we'll just talk about like rappers that maybe just didn't live up to the hype, and and how sometimes I think we gotta be careful of the celebrities that we might look up to or that we like really like, because sometimes these pe- these individuals as people are not, I don't know, they got some things to work on, you know what I'm saying, like we all do, but like still it's a little bit ridiculous, I mean, with some of these guys. So what let's talk about that. Let's get into the episode. All right, so did everybody enjoy their Thanksgiving? Did anybody do any like Black Friday shopping? Was there anything that you really wanted? With Thanksgiving, I feel like my Thanksgiving was good, man. You know, had it in a big setting. It was a lot. It was like a lot of people. The spread was really good. My baby, she makes the best turkey for real. And it's like a whole like multi-day process. Yeah, I mean, with the brining and all that. It's a real sophisticated little system that she's kind of developed, and she made a couple of different desserts. Unfortunately, we ain't tell nobody. I don't think she told anybody. But shout out to her because she ain't like want to embarrass me or like make me feel bad. But I ruined the dessert. Yeah, yo, I ruined the dessert, man. A couple weeks ago, she posted on social media this honey bun cake that she made. So the honey bun cake, it originated from, because we go to this like wine festival, reggae and wine festival, and the last, like, we've gone to this festival 3 different times, And all the different times that we went, the same truck is there. It's a truck from the Honey Bun Cake Factory, which they have a actual brick and mortar location. It's somewhere in Maryland, but it's not like in Baltimore though. You know what I mean? Like it's somewhere in Maryland. And so, but it's like out of the way. You know what I mean? I'm in PA and kind of where it's at, it would be like you would purposely have to make a trip to go out there or whatever. So they do have a brick and mortar place, but like they sell these cakes, whatever. And I'm realizing that I think the cakes for the most part are just like the signature cake is the honey bun cake. And so we've been on that, whatever. So anytime we go to this festival, we go to that truck and we get a couple slices, you know what I'm saying? Mad good. Always been wanting to order like a full cake from them, right? So one of the flavors that they have is sweet potato. So like she ended up making her own version of the sweet potato cake. So, Thanksgiving, even when you're guests, like you're bringing stuff to people's houses. So, like, you're them pots and pans is shaking. I mean, at your crib too sometimes. And so she needed me to turn on because we have like a tea kettle. What I mean, she needed me to turn on the tea kettle, and I have like an electric just range. I mean, electric stove, whatever. So like you know that the burner's on, but you don't fully know that the burner's on. I mean, it ain't like yeah, if I had gas, then I would hear it right away and I would see like what burner I'm igniting, right? So I turned on the front burners instead of the back burners, like because maybe I don't really cook on the back burners at all. And then we just sitting there watching TV, enjoying some TV. And then like out of nowhere, like we kind of smelling something and it's like it's smelling crazy. And we like, yo, what the heck is going like what the heck is that? Lo and behold, we go find out that because she had like two pans of like desserts, whatever, on top of the stove, whatever. And I turned the front burner on and I burnt the like I almost started a fire. Like it was smoking, whatever, but like the aluminum foil was burnt and it was smoky and everything like that. And basically, it like cooked the dessert even longer and like it burnt it. And it was this big old pan. It was like a surprise, kind of. And then, like, yeah, I felt so bad, bro. I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. I just was not really paying attention, whatever. But she ain't bring it up. She ain't bring it up, but she did make some good desserts. But other than that, though, man, like Thanksgiving is definitely a good time. It's always good to be with family. I do like bigger Thanksgivings because it's just the social aspect. Like you get to talk to a lot of people, you get to interact with a lot of people. Small intimate Thanksgiving is fine too. Um, but like the big setting is dope, man. It's definitely dope. And it just makes you when you're the guest, it does make you think about like, oh man, like one day, what if we host or you think about like you might not host for like everybody, but you think about the kids that you have and like their kids and like think about in generations to come, like you might be the place where everybody is hosting these big old Thanksgivings and stuff like that. So it's a dope feeling. Um, but yeah, Thanksgiving was also good because of the Packers. So we will get into the Packers a little bit later. But I just yeah, so dope Thanksgiving. Didn't do no Black Friday shopping. I do have. I'm not gonna talk about this too much because just in case my son sees this, whatever. But I'm gonna just say nah, I'm not even gonna say it because he watch YouTube like so he might catch it. So I'm not even gonna say nothing about Christmas. I'm not gonna say nothing about Christmas. But hopefully, man, everybody gets what they want. Get it, man. Don't let nobody shame you, man. Get a TV. If you need a TV, this is definitely the best time to buy a TV. Now it's not gonna be a brand new TV. Like it's gonna be brand new in the box, but it ain't gonna be a brand new model. But so what? Get last year's model or 2 years ago model discontinued. Get that 76-inch TV for $200. Like whatever the deal is, man. Go get that TV, bro. Don't let nobody talk you out of it and make you be like, yo, man, yo. That's always the meme. Like, ain't y'all got enough TVs? Whatever. What y'all need to do Black Friday shopping, bro? Let people rock, man. I do remember the heyday of Black Friday shopping, though, man. Like I've told y'all stories. I work retail and electronics retail at that. So like definitely if because I think about my time in electronic retail was like from like '06 to like 2014, right? So like 8 years of doing that. and like really seeing like personal electronics evolve. And that was like in that time period that when I was working at like Radio Shack, you know what I'm saying? Um, yo, the amount what how technology evolved in that time, even like for that's like the start of smartphones for that period of time was the very start of what marks the very smartest start of smartphones. Because what the first iPhone comes out in like '07, '07, '08, right? So it was a crazy time, and like that's what people was getting in line for. They was getting in line for these phones, they was getting in line for these GPS systems, they was getting in line for satellite radio systems. They was TVs, different type of DVD players, special Bluetooth systems, a lot of different stuff like that. Even the toys, man, Radio Shack had all the toys. And but yeah, like it was like lines at the door, man. For real, for real. Like we had lines at the door, and it was a different time. And then you would get off of work, and then yeah, you would do some shopping because you just knew like that it was the season. Now, when you not working retail, you don't really be unless you're like just a crazy consumer. You don't really be out there on Black Fridays. Like I haven't really been out on Black Friday in a minute, but it's not because it's just not essential. You know what I'm saying? But I do like the holiday hours of places. So like shout out to holiday hours. Hopefully, man, everybody has a good Christmas and everybody gets what they want or what they kind of desire, man. So hopefully you enjoyed your holiday. But yeah, let's move on, man. Let's move on. So one thing I'm gonna say to y'all, man, is to stay in school, man. This is a message I'm gonna give y'all. Stay in school, man. Make sure you tell your kids to stay in school. So, um, we're gonna check out this clip, right? So this clip it's from a podcast called the No Funny Shit Show, right? And Juelz Santana was on this podcast, and so Juelz Santana was talking about a bunch of stuff. And I'm not knocking this podcast for like maybe they are like trying to be funny with certain things, whatever. And certain things is like every time you have a guest on a show, it's not like some debate session, whatever. Like, so you do cater to your guests, and like you don't necessarily hold your people don't always be holding their guests accountable. Yeah, I mean, especially if that's not the vibe of the show. If it's not to like prove or disagree about something, you just gonna let somebody rock, whatever. Even if their point is ridiculous, even if it might make them look silly, you might just let them rock because it's like you're not trying to be argumentative, and almost you let the content kind of speak for itself. It's like, all right, like, no, I don't have no opinion about how he said this or why he did that, but like, y'all can make your own opinion because, like, look, here it is. So that's kind of what we getting with this, right? So I feel like these guys ain't really say much, whatever. But I thought this was just a wild take, whatever. So I'm gonna share the screen and then we'll play the video. But here it says, Juelz Santana says, kids need math more than reading. And the quote is, you don't have to know how to read. Now, this was the shade room kind of being messy, but like it don't matter how you splice it, whatever. This is his sentiment though. And we gonna basically react to that. So let's take a look here. Y'all see it on the screen. Yep. TSR, great debates. All right. It's not really that great a debate, but let's take a look here. I like some people's comments. Today they might want to be a business owner, and tomorrow they might want to be a lawyer or a doctor. You got to learn how to read, fam. Here we go. So let's take a look.
His voice on so we gotta start teaching our kids though, just financial wealth and literacy and all that shit early, because by the time they get to ninth grade, they should be just learning how to start businesses and how to. But they don't really need to know how to read.
Wait, stop.
Wait, I ain't gonna say that. I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be literate, because you're not supposed to be illiterate, but you can.
What's more important, reading or math?
Math.
Told you.
Math. I think you could listen to a book on YouTube. You can still obtain the information. You don't have to know how to read. That's not reading and understanding. I believe common sense is better than everything. I'm on common sense. I'd rather have zero book smarts and common sense, be able to read the room, be able to read life, be able to read people. I try to understand people, understand, you know what I'm saying? Like, nowadays, you can listen to a book. I just listen to the 48 Laws of Power, not to.
You gotta read your contract, Els.
You don't have to
you can listen to that too. They got apps you can put it in and it'll read it to you. Are you crazy? Huh? It probably will. AI will now. That's what I'm saying. That's how freaky it is.
You don't have to read. Be told to you.
It'll be so. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like you don't need to know how to read.
At a restaurant.
Floyd Mayweather don't read that shit.
Restaurant. Like it's mad. Gotta read.
You saying that? You just gotta know what you like.
I know what I want.
You ain't gotta read the restaurant. You can just say, "What is this? A steak joint? I want steak. I want what y'all steak come with? What y'all got? When the waiter come,
reading way more important.
When the waiter come, you be like, "What come with?" Seriously though.
All right, man. Like this hurt my brain, man. For like just listening to this. So Juelz Santana once said, "Went to school but ain't stay in class. Hated class. Only first period. Yup, I could relate to math, right?" So yeah, the reason why Juelz Santana hated class, couldn't stay in class, is because this nigga couldn't read, right? This nigga cannot read, and I'm totally convinced of that. Whatever. Now he did try to backpedal a couple times, where he's like, "No, I'm not saying you ain't gotta know how to read, but like, yeah, when they're getting into high school, you should be learning how to like, start businesses and things like that." And man, I just don't understand, man. People just don't get like obviously there's flaws with like public education. Like we ain't nobody gonna deny that, whatever. But like the reason why there are flaws in public education have to do with just the way the system is, and like one, you take in everybody, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with taking in everybody, but like you talking about, you got language barriers, you got personality barriers, you got behavior barriers, you got a whole bunch of things that kind of dictate like how a class is kind of functions and things like that. And then you have apathy from students. That's kind of goes along with the behaviors. Like everybody's not in there to learn. Some people are there because they got to be there. Some people are there because that's really the only place they're going to eat a meal, you know what I'm saying? And maybe be warm for the next 7 hours of the day, because I mean, they might live in a messed up situation. So being in public school is about kind of receiving like a well-rounded approach to education, and like it's hopefully certain topics, certain subjects spark your interest for you to feel that you have a knowledge base or a solid foundation of something that you would want to pursue later in life, whatever. So yes, learn about business is cool, but like that don't mean just because you take business classes in high school or in school period don't mean that you're gonna end up being a business owner, right? Just like you took science classes don't mean you about to be a chemist or a biologist, or you took gym classes that don't mean you about to be an athlete either. So like for when people say, "Oh no, you should just learn," I mean, like no. A lot of schools, like especially at the high school level, there's a lot of business classes. There's a lot of business like curriculum that's out there that's like kind of required by the states and things like that. Like they've implemented some of those things. Personal finance classes, like that's a regular thing now. You know what I'm saying? That maybe wasn't a regular thing back in the day. However, that does not always translate into what kids want to do later just because they learned it in school. So to say like, oh, kids only need to learn, they just should learn how to make a business and they really only need to learn math. Well, even with a business, like, what I mean? You're dealing with like basic math, you're dealing with some percentages. When people say like, oh, they need to teach you how to like do your taxes and stuff, like that has nothing to do with math though. Like doing your taxes is all punching numbers into a formula or into a program. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no extra math that goes into it. But like the math that you talk about in business is relatively like basic math. I mean, it's not like the higher order maths like calculus and trigonometry and things like that, where or even statistics, where you're dealing with like scientific equations and learning about engineering and things like that. Like that's not necessarily important to business either. So like to say that you only need to learn math, that would mean that would really literally mean that like your math, like to be a functioning adult, would probably stop at eighth grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, and obviously that's not the case. And so like to say like kids, um, oh, you don't, and then they try to bring up topics. They said, because he's talking about business. So they said, well, how you gonna read the contracts? And now he talking about some AI, and you don't even need to learn how to read because the things can read it for you. And but that's the thing. Reading is not just about understanding how to pronounce words, it's comprehension. So even if something is reading something back to you, even if you read it on ChatGPT and you can see the words and you can pronounce the words, if you don't comprehend what the words are saying, then you will get swindled in business deals, right? Even if you hire people, right? Hiring people that are expertise in these different fields when it comes to finance, that doesn't always lead to good results because if they know that you are not aware of what's going on at all, that's how people get played. People get robbed by, like, famous people get robbed by their financial advisors every day, B. So like to say that you only like you don't even need to learn how to read because of X, Y, and Z, like like and then we're arguing about like what's the most important subjects. Math and science can earn you a lot of money and can get you far, but I wouldn't say those are the most important. I would say the foundational skills are the most important. So reading is English. Those are the most important. That is the most important subject because it's your comprehension, it's your reading, it's your ability to communicate and speak. Um, and I'm just surprised a rapper, somebody that I mean, some people might even consider a lyricist to whatever degree, right? He's a lyricist. For somebody like that to downplay the importance of reading and stuff like that, because I and the reason why he said that is because the one dude said, "Yo, these kids don't know how to read." So like, yeah, how they gonna learn how to make a business if they don't know how to read? And then he was deflecting that point. But it to me, it just concluded what I probably thought about him is that like, yeah, he's probably not the strongest reader. The kids that act out the most be the ones that don't know how to read, yo. Like point blank period. The kids that act out the most, ask them to read you something. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got a kid that is really misbehaving in school, like if your child is whatever, or somebody that you know, a younger relative, whatever, ask them to read something to you, whatever, and watch how agitated they get. Watch how frustrated that kid get. Watch how dismissive they are to that request, whatever. That's how you know. Like that's one of the telltale signs. Like there are some kids that misbehave that are like really smart, whatever. But like that whole like, you know, that the evil genius archetype is not like prevalent for it's not widespread. Like not a lot of kids, not a lot of people are on that type of time. So so you can miss me with that. Like you can miss me with that, man. So, but like, it's just funny because Juelz is somebody that like when I was in high school, he was the man. Like he was up and coming. His first album came out in like '03, but he was still like all throughout high school. He was that guy. Like he was the one that we thought was probably the best in Dipset at one point in time. And like you don't necessarily look up to him as like a role model necessarily, but like you look up to him in terms of just his popularity and like and just his style and everything like that. Like you want to be him for various reasons. But then it's like when you look back, hindsight is like crazy because then it's like, yo, bro, he was the most crash out dude of the whole crew. Like he was the lead. He ended up being the least successful, and then obviously like with substance abuse and stuff like that, like he the most fiended out member of the whole set, and that was somebody that we wanted to like, we kind of wanted to be like, man, and like so you do definitely gotta be careful. Like, I mean, some people live off of their idols and stuff like that, or some people live off of their celebrities and how much they like them and all that. Like, they live for that type of stuff. It's cool to have people that are your favorites, but like, just take it with a grain of salt, man, because these are people, and everybody's flawed. But like, some of these guys, man, will even just spout off like a weird message like that. You know what I mean? Like I thought that's just weird. Like that's a weird flex. weirdest thing that he could say, whatever. But to me, it explains like a lot of his music, though. And I mean, it explains why he didn't get that far, and explains why he, you know what I mean, certain things happened and fumbled the bag, man. Like it explains it, man. Cause even that, like, even if you knew how to read and you was paying attention in school, like there will be no reason. Like I'm telling you, man, like when it comes to like even like drug abuse, whatever, even though they teach you about that type of stuff, like in the dangers and stuff like that, like how many kids is really paying attention? I know I did. Like I paid attention to that stuff, and there was a lot of like effects and feelings that I never wanted to experience, and hence why I never got into nothing, no hard type of substances or nothing like that, because I ain't never want to be down. I ain't never want to be down bad like that. And like Juelz is a fiend, bro. Like, or he was a fiend at one point in time. And like, yeah, he down bad, and he's speaking. He can't even fully give a full coherent thought, but like he's speaking from a dude that's like clearly down bad or was down bad at one point in time. But leave a comment below, man, if you agree with what Juelz is saying. Leave a comment below if you disagree with what Juelz is saying. But like, do kids need to learn? Do kids need to know how to read? Do they need to know how to read, or is starting a business more essential? And then I guess we could say like, do they both kind of go hand in hand? All right. Even my boy Levi, he'll say stuff like he don't know how to read and stuff like that, but like he's way more proficient than like he probably even realizes he is. It's just something that he didn't like to do, and that's the difference too. If reading is something that you don't necessarily like to do, but you are probably good at, that's a whole different thing than just to say like, nah, reading's not that important. Like that's mad weird. But let's move on, man. Move on to our next topic. Let's move on. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. All right. So we're gonna talk about this Eddie Murphy documentary. I think it's called Becoming Eddie or Being Eddie. Is that what it's called? Let me just look this up real fast. I'm just gonna go in the app. I'm not gonna watch nothing. I'm just gonna click. It should be like one of the first things that pop up for me. Just gonna put in Eddie. Oh, being Eddie. All right, so this was a dope documentary of Eddie Murphy. A dope autobiographical documentary, because it was clearly like coming from him, and it was like his side of the story, whatever. But like I always knew that Eddie Murphy was larger than life. I always knew that he was like one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, even when I was a little kid, whatever. But like when you watch that documentary about being Eddie, you realize that this dude was really the Michael Jordan of comedy. Like really the Michael Jordan of comedy, man. Like number one, top tier, the best, the greatest. You know what I'm saying? Like there might be people that have different elements that are better than him, whatever, but like overall, he's the greatest. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because I learned a lot about Eddie Murphy that I did not necessarily know. And again, obviously, this is coming from the horse's mouth, so we I think it gives credence to a lot of things. But then you do gotta take certain things with a grain of salt. But I'm gonna talk about some of the things that I did not know about Eddie. I didn't know that despite him being so prominent in the '80s, and that's when he really got his start. That's when the party life was crazy. The party scene was crazy. So I know he partied, hence the Dave Chappelle skits with about Charlie Murphy and Prince, whatever. So they would talk about Eddie Murphy being in these places and stuff like that. Eddie Murphy partying with Rick James. So I knew he was out and about with these people. Being with Rick James is how Eddie Murphy got into like making music and stuff like that. So I knew that Eddie party, but I didn't know that he didn't party, right? And I mean like his brother says, like he never took a drink, never smoked nothing. Like this guy's like clean as a whistle. So I never realized that. Like I never knew that, like because a lot of these like extremely talented people, especially like in certain day and age. It was like substance abuse is way more common, way more prevalent, way more kind of accepted or just kind of expected of people. Like you expected that artists and celebrities were doing all these type of things. So like you wouldn't look the other way if you did hear something, but we never heard no crazy scandals. There was a scandal that they did talk about Eddie Murphy. I ain't about to bring it up, but like look up like 1997 and look up when Eddie gave somebody a ride. Just look that up and then you'll get the facts, whatever. But he obviously didn't talk about that scandal, but yeah, no, it was interesting to hear that, you know what I mean? So like it makes you realize like, oh, this guy was like really level headed and clear minded and like he was not phased and influenced by the bad things that we expect celebrities to be influenced by. Um One thing I gotta say about Eddie Murphy, and one thing I guess I didn't realize is that really Eddie Murphy really created his own path, and was a superstar that truly had the creative license to do any type of project that he wanted. Like he literally was like just trying stuff out, and he was like stepping out there, and like he was like the box office smash, and he was like the cheat code, and nobody realized like I guess people realized at the time like he was a star, but like kind of looking back, like yo, like this dude was really doing every movie. He was doing any kind of movie that he wanted, and it was dope. It was really dope, man. And even when he got into like doing like stuff like Boomerang, like that was his choice to kind of do that, and he was a big part of the production, and just he was really instrumental in making the black actor be commonplace, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or like the black movie star really like we had other big black actors, like you talk about Sidney Poitier. You talk about yeah, I mean even Richard Pryor was the guy for a little bit, even in certain movies. Harry Belafonte, guys like that existed. Uh, Billy D. Williams. It's like people like that existed, whatever. But like talking about like that A list and like you can't be put in a box and like everything that you put out is a box office smash. Like he was the guy. Like because after him, guys like yeah, Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, like other even though they were in different type of genres of films, that's when you start getting the true A list black actor. It was Eddie Murphy for. So I thought that was cool. Um, it's crazy because I remember, everybody loved Eddie Murphy. Everybody loved his raw comedy and what he's capable of, and like though that's the comedy that people knew him for, like the really raw, raunchy, like unfiltered type of comedy. Everybody loved him for that, and they loved when they seen that type of comedy in his movies. But then there was a period of time when he started doing all these like family movies, and at the time when I was a kid, even when I was a kid, we were, watching these movies and thinking like, oh, he was just doing this for the bag. Like, oh, this is just a money grab and this and that, whatever. But learning through this documentary was that um him making these family movies was actually reflective of where he was at in his life because he was in the midst of raising his family. You know what I'm saying? Like so he had like there were kids in his life, his young children in his life. That's why he does movies like The Haunted Mansion. That's why he does Dr. Doolittle, Shrek, you know what I mean, and plays Donkey, does Daddy Daycare. And like that's why he's doing that, whatever, because like it's reflective of like what his values were. And I never knew that. Like I never knew it was kind of based in that. It did feel like, oh, it's just a money grab. But speaking of that though, right? Um, as much as we feel it's a money grab, he was able to master the ability to constantly expand his audience, right? And that's part of the reason he started doing all these type of movies because he realized like he needed they said that like he would always try to reinvent himself for like every 10 years or so to speak, like um he was always trying to reach a different, and I guess yeah, he has been around for like 4 decades, so he was always trying to like get himself into a different audience. And like even though you don't really think of like, oh, like kids knowing Eddie Murphy, whatever, but kids do know Eddie Murphy, and like when their parents explain, like if they watch Shrek and stuff like that, they, kids know that voice, and then they're looking for and even Mulan. You know what I'm saying? He did, yeah, I forgot he did Mulan as well. So like whether we know it or not, whatever, he was getting into the Disney audience, and even with the parents, right? Like, parents being able to trust if they see Eddie Murphy's name coming out in a movie, it's probably something that my kids could see, and that's what he became, whatever. But like he constantly was like kind of reinventing himself along the way. Just even doing different films, even doing Dreamgirls in 2006, doing, and then even his most recently when he with his Netflix deal doing Dolomite, doing the remake for what's it called? Beverly Hills. Yeah, I mean, and even doing the Coming to America remake and stuff like that. So I'm doing that one Christmas movie for Amazon Prime, like constantly getting into different little bags. You know what I'm saying, for and it's just dope to see that and like them to chronicle that, whatever. It wasn't that long, and I don't think it didn't get too deep, but it was definitely cool. And but it makes you always think when people do something like this, it either means that they got something else big in the works, or it means, I don't know. Like I always get fearful of people's like health and things like that. Um, Cause like it's like, are you doing this to get your affairs in order? Like Jerry Jones, them making that documentary on Netflix, that's because Jerry's old. You know what I'm saying? And his time, his days are his better days are past him. You know what I'm saying? So, but like when a guy like Eddie Murphy is doing something like this, it's like, what does that mean? So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't mean anything crazy, and we'll still get to enjoy Eddie for years to come. One of the things, the last takeaway that I'll say about this is this question that he constantly gets asked about doing stand up comedy. So what the conclusion was is that he may or may not ever do stand up again. Um, he said that, like, because yeah, I think we still, if you're from a certain era, you still look at him as a comedian or comedic actor. But when you really look at his career in totality, and this is what he says, he doesn't want to be viewed as a comedian. He wants to be viewed as a funny person that happened to do comedy. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Or this talented person that happened to do comedy at one point in time. Because this man is serious about making music. This man is serious about TV and film production. This man is serious about his acting ability in general. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's dope. I think it's dope. And yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Maybe this is a preview to a future stand-up special. I mean, like, even though he was kind of down talking it, or kind of downplaying it. Well, I don't know. We might see Eddie in a stand-up pretty soon. Who knows? All right. But what do you think, man? Did you see? Go check that out, man. Like, you'll get some more. You'll get some details. I didn't really give no details as to some of the things that happening, but like definitely eye opening. It was definitely a fun watch. I mean, especially with all the clips and everything like that they show. Cause yeah, he's revolutionary, man. So all right, let's move on. Let's move on to some sports. And yeah, the last topic is gonna be the music topic, Wale's album. So all right, so Shador's first actual start. So last week, I definitely talked about Shedeur's debut, in which he did not play very well. So we can recap what that debut was. Against the Baltimore Ravens, Shedeur Sanders was 4 for 16 with a 25% completion percentage. He had 47 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he was sacked twice. And yeah, so his passer rating was very low. Did not do very well at all. He did have a 25-yard completion though. That was like his longest completion of the day, but then everything else was pretty pedestrian. Now, in in the game in week 12 against the Raiders, right? The Cleveland Browns won, right? And he had a better game. He had a better game. So we'll start out with that. He definitely had a better game. He was 11 for 20, but that's still only 55% completion percentage. Not really pro level quality for real. But 209 yards. I don't really care about how much yards you get based. I mean, because he only had 11 completions, so that's not bad. I mean, one touchdown. He still threw a pick. He only took one sack in this particular game, right? So yeah, he played better. He played better. But the one thing that I gotta say though is that despite despite that fact, right? So Shadour definitely um played better in his first actual start against the Raiders. But before we beat down the door and claim how wrong the Browns were for not starting him, let's remember who he played. Remember, he played the Raiders. So Shedeur was much more efficient. And he did have multiple big like passing plays in that game. The one that was the touchdown that was like for 63 yards, that was a screen pass though. You know what I'm saying? Like so he didn't really throw it down the field. Like it wasn't a dot. It was just that's a routine play, and that's where your receiver is doing most of the work. But he did throw a nice, a nice deep pass that did get caught. It didn't end up getting in for the end zone, but it was good. I think this week though versus San Francisco, I think that's where we'll get a little bit more accurate measurement of like how good he is. This is much more of a test, despite some of their losses, right? Like they did just beat the Panthers in a tough game. But despite some of the San Fran's losses and even some of their losses on defense, they still have a better defense than a team like the Raiders, right? So the 49ers are definitely going to be more of a test. People are saying, though, this is the easiest part of the Browns schedule. That's what some people are claiming. I don't know if I buy that. Let's see. Who else do they play this year? Let's take a look here. Browns schedule. Let's see. They got San Fran this weekend. They got to play the Bears, so the Bears are you know what I mean, supposed to be tough. They got to play the Bills. They got the Titans. They got the Steelers, and they got the Bengals. Yeah, no, I don't see him playing good in really any. The only game that he might play good in is the Titans game. I don't see him playing good against the Bears, the Bills, the Steelers, or the Bengals. Even maybe he'll have good stats against the Bengals, but I don't see him beating the Bengals. I mean, if that makes sense. So definitely, yeah, definitely had a better performance. But people are saying stuff like, "Oh, if he was the starter from day one, they wouldn't be 2-8 right now." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think they beat the Packers with Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. That's one of the Browns' wins. Whatever. So like, yeah, I mean, we're getting one win. I mean, maybe the game that Dylan Gabriel. Well, I guess what? No, they're like, are they 2-8 or they're not? I think they're like 3 and I think they might be like 3-8. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think that's accurate. I think that they would still be a struggling team. I don't want to shit on the kid though. Like I don't want to make it seem like I don't want him to succeed. If he succeeds, that's fine. But it's when people make that leap and be like, "Oh, I told you so." Like, and it's like, no, he ain't at that level yet. Like, let's chill out. Let's temper our expectations because again, he did not play a good team at all. A team that's historically bad, a team that's historically bad on defense. I mean, at that, a team that's not playing for anything and just fired their offensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like it's that team is in disarray. Whatever. So like let's just temper our expectations. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with people rooting for him, or even if they are positive and optimistic. But I would say this: I do think it is telling how the coach responded in the post game of Shadour's first win versus the post game of Dylan Gabriel's first win. So, you know what I mean? They showed those side by side and like obviously like he was like way more excited about Dylan Gabriel. And Shadour was more so like, thank you, Shadour. Good job, Shadour. Now, granted, Shadour is not the main reason why the Browns won. The Browns had 10 sacks in that game. So that was a big reason why they won that game, is because they had 10 sacks on the quarterback. Um, he played a role. I think when they showed the QBR, like the ESPN rating QBR, it was very low, and people was talking about that. Yeah, so maybe that's just not a stat that we legitimize anymore, that we use. But like, yeah, let's not make it seem like he's automatically about to be an All Pro or Pro Bowler. Like he got to play against some good teams and do it against better defenses week in and week out. And so like, and when they said the schedule, this is not actually the easiest part of their schedule. This might be one of the more difficult times. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But speaking of football, I told you I was going to talk about my Packers. Now they lost to the Eagles a couple weeks ago, and now they've won. Did they win 3 straight? The Packers have just won 3 straight games. So after losing to the Panthers and losing to the Eagles in back-to-back 3-point losses, mind you, little 3-point losses, so nothing too crazy, you know what I'm saying? But after those 2 losses, the Packers have now won 3 games straight, and I mean they scored 27 points, 23 points, and then now 31 points. So the offense is getting better, pretty much week by week. This week they were really challenged defensively, and they could, Lions was like kind of keeping up with them, but. In consecutive weeks, they beat the Giants, Vikings, and Lions. The Packers it feels like they are getting on track finally. The play calling definitely has changed, especially if you're talking about versus the Lions. While we did go very conservative against the Vikings because of our defensive dominance, and we had like a more of a mixed game versus the Giants, we would have had a better offensive game against New York had there not been so many drops. Had we even created more turnovers that were available to us, we could have really like opened that game up. But the defense is showing that they're doing their thing. But also outside of the Vikings game, because we didn't really have to throw that much, it looks like the coach is finally giving Jordan Love a little bit more responsibility and putting the game in his hands. I said that's going to be the key to the Packers getting to the next level, but also just winning games is having to rely on Jordan Love some more, and that's a good thing. So the Packers beating the Lions though is huge for our playoff standing, right? So it does kind of solidify us more so in the wild card round at this point, but also helps our divisional record. So the Packers are now 3-0 in the NFC North, right? First time that we swept the Lions since 2020. All right, so we got swept last year by them. We've gone like 1-1 in different years, right? But this is the first time we swept them since 2020. Jordan Love's 4 passing touchdowns on Thanksgiving is the first Packer to do that since Brett Favre did it in 1994, where he had 4 passing touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day. But like, yeah, like Love was throwing dimes, bro. Love was throwing dimes. That 50-yard touchdown to Christian Watson, dime. A lot of the first John to Dontavian Wicks was a dime. Matt LaFleur, he was way more aggressive in his play calling. We were passing a lot. Like there were some series where we passed on first, second, and third down, whatever. And that was like, it was crazy to see that because I was like, yo, bro, what's going on? And I think the reason why like the Packers were successful against the Lions was because we were able to shut down their running game. The reason why we were able to shut down their running game was because of our offense and because of the passing game, our passing game, because when we were making plays and we were every time they would score or whatever, we would answer with a touchdown. So that put the pressure on Detroit to where it was like, oh, we don't have time to sit here and establish the run. Like we need to score in bunches. We need to answer back. And you could tell they were playing kind of pressed a little bit. And we didn't make that many plays. I felt like we made enough plays in this game. I thought we could have did better against Jameson Williams because we were gifted a Amon Ra St. Brown injury. He hurt himself in this particular game. Hopefully he's back pretty soon, but he did have to go out early. Injuries are part of the game, though, so I don't want to hear no excuses because we don't have Tucker Craft. So I don't want to hear no excuses from Lions fans. But after he goes down, we still let Jameson Williams go crazy. Like he went crazy on us. And that's the thing. I do like Carrington Valentine is a good cover corner, but I've noticed this too in several games. He's not a good tackler. Like so he's gonna have to fix that part of his game, and that's probably why he's not on the field a lot of times. He's doing a good job of like not allowing catches, but when people do catch the ball, he don't bring them down. You know what I'm saying? He don't bring them down. So there was a key like little screen pass to Jameson Williams where Carrington Valentine has him dead to rights, whatever. And he does this thing where a lot of these NFL players they just lead with their shoulder and just be trying to knock people off they balance, like knock them off balance instead of like wrapping up and driving these guys to the ground, whatever. So we'll see, man. We'll see how that we'll see kind of moving forward if we can like kind of stop some of these like higher power offenses. But it was kind of crazy. We'll see if Carrington Valentine kind of improves throughout the season because like he's kind of all we got, man. Like him and Nixon, like we're putting a lot of faith in their ability and their growth the rest of the season. Micah Parsons had a huge game, 2.5 sacks, man. I think in the last like 3 weeks he has like 5.5 sacks, or maybe even he has a lot of sacks. He has a lot of sacks. I think he has like 5.5 sacks. And he moves to 12.5 sacks on the season. He is the first player in NFL history to get at least 12 sacks in each of his first 5 seasons. So 12 sacks. His career high is 14 sacks. So he is only a sack and a half away from his career high. It does look like he'll be a Pro Bowler. It looks like he'll be an All Pro. Especially like how dominant he's being. He's only really being used as a specialist. He's not even playing every down. And he's doing his thing, man. He's doing his thing. He has some very clutch and big time sacks on Jared Goff, like really smoked Jared Goff. I kind of thought that Jared Goff was going to fumble one of these times that he hit him, but definitely, um, I feel like he's doing his thing right now. It is later in the season. There's something that a rumor or like a criticism of Michael Parsons that he fades late into the season, and then I'm thinking like I don't know for sure what the Cowboys records were all these seasons, but in the 4 years that Michael Parsons was on that team, how many times did they make the playoffs? Twice. They didn't make it all 4 times. I know they definitely they. I mean, the most that they would have would be three because they definitely missed the playoffs last year. But I feel like they missed the playoffs another year as well. So, like, if you're saying that he fades late in the season, it might be because he doesn't really have that much to play for, right? So, like, if he fades late in the season, it's like, yeah, what is he like now? If he doesn't play good in a playoff game, that's a whole different story. But like, yeah, to say that he fades late into the season, what does that even mean? And like, what what proof do you have? And like, are y'all perennial contenders? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not, I can see why. I can see why. I can see why. But now the Packers, though, we move on to playing the Bears next week. And the Bears just beat the Eagles. The Eagles are a team that beat us. Now, I don't like to use that kind of logic. If you watch enough sports, you understand that kind of triangulation of like logic of trying to like make sense of certain things. Like, oh, if this would happen, then this would happen, and or this happened, and then this happened. Thus, that means that like our team is better. If you watch enough football, then you know that doesn't really apply. It doesn't really apply. It doesn't matter who you beat, who your opponents beat, and whether you lost to their opponent. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's always any given Sunday. And so, like, even though the Bears beat the Eagles and we couldn't beat the Eagles, that doesn't mean that our chances against the Bears are less. The Eagles are going through their own things, man. The Eagles are kind of sputtering. They struggle a lot on offense and in their defense. this week in particular really struggled against the Bears. The Bears had two guys over 100 yards. They had over like 230 some yards rushing in that game against the Bears. Caleb Williams didn't really have to do much. I seen him miss a lot of throws in that game. That was like one of my first times really seeing Caleb Williams throw for a whole game, and he's I mean he makes some nifty plays here and there, but he misses a lot of throws. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, I feel like the Packers are gonna feast, man. The Eagles got a little bit of pressure on them, but like I can imagine like Rashawn Gary and Michael Parsons specifically doing their thing against the Bears. So we'll see, man. It's always a hard fought game against them. And but yeah, man, hopefully we ball out and we keep this winning streak alive, man. But like, yeah, our team has moved now to 8-3-1. And yeah, man, we're still in second place in the division, but a win would give us sole control, and it will give us just the confidence going down the stretch because yeah, that's pretty much our main opponents are the divisional opponents. Seeing the Ravens lose to the Bengals makes me feel like we're gonna beat the Ravens too later in the season. So we'll check that out when the time comes, though. But all right, let's wrap that up. And then last topic, last thing. Wale's new album. Wale's new album. So Wale. I really like Wale. Wale has always been one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite rappers. I was like Team Wale, like really thinking that he was gonna make it and get out of here. And like obviously he did make it. Like he made it to massive levels of popularity and fame and success. Like, however, when you talk about like the big three or like the heavy hitters in rap, his run kind of stopped in like of being like in the front running for that like title, that bragging rights title. That kind of ended in like 2017 for him, right? Because he dropped a bad album. He dropped Shine. Shine was not a good album. It did not he didn't have a good single. It felt like Wale kind of lost his touch. We also knew that Wale had just fell out of favor with the media. We've talked about that at different times, whatever. Um, yeah, it was crazy, whatever. But like this album, which is it's called Everything Is a Lot. Everything Is a Lot. This album is good. It's a good album, but I would say I gotta keep it a buck. This is not a rap album though. This is not a rap album. Like it's a good album. It's good music. It's good artistry. Like there's a lot of good songs on here, but this is not a rap album. You know what I'm saying? This is Wale's first album since 2021. In 2022, he put out More About Nothing, the mixtape. He put it on streaming platforms. But other than that, that was like really his biggest contribution to streaming platforms because he had no project. In 2021, he dropped Forlorn 2. Forlorn 2, it had the one track that had the Q-tip of the Q-tip sample, the flip vibrant thing, flip whatever. Um, so that was like a cool little club song, whatever. But like after that single, like nothing was really, and that was like people played that in parties and stuff like that, whatever. But like that wasn't something that people was like really, really rocking to. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But like that was in 2021. Prior to that, the album that he dropped was the one in 2019. That was a good album. That was a good album. In 2019, he came out with. I'm just making sure I get the names right. And yeah, just double checking this discography. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In 2019, he dropped Wow That's Crazy. Now, Wow That's Crazy had some Jones on it. Like that was a decent album. For as long as it was like a 15 track album. I probably like 6 songs out of it. So it wasn't the greatest, but those songs definitely stood out. And but like that was like him trying to like regain favor, whatever. But then like he got cold, bro. Like he got cold, and then he dropped that Forlorn 2. And like Wale didn't really fit the aesthetic of what the kind of music that was like being released, and he was just getting passed and lapped by a lot of the heavy hitters at the time, and other guys was kind of emerging, whatever. So, um, but yeah, I knew that something was gonna be coming out in the summertime because he dropped that single "Where to Start," which is a banger, right? But it was at the time it was not connected to any project. So I'm glad that he finally put something out. But like from when that single came out in July for an album not to come out until November, that's a long waiting period, so whatever. And like I wouldn't even necessarily say that this is a rollout, but I knew he was in the middle of a rollout when I kept seeing him on all these different podcasts and all these different shows. I knew that the album rollout was underway, but like his first signal was like kind of so far removed from the album release that like I don't think people really connect them to, and I don't even know if people really heard that single for real. But that's the single that has that SWV sample, whatever. One thing I seen, and this is actually from the ladies, I seen a lot of ladies say that this album has them in a chokehold, whatever. And when I listen to the album and I look at the track, even when you just look at the track list, I can see why. And just listening to it, I can see why. And it's because this album is not really a rap album. This is not really a rap album. If anything, this is easy listening rap, right? And Wale is kind of known for that, like easy listening rap. Um, this is like some adult urban contemporary music. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like, yeah, he's rapping a little bit, but like these are not rap. A lot of these are not rap songs. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of songs where like the lyrics are very limited and it's just like catchy. Like there's a lot of catchy hooks. There's a lot of catchy melodic samples. There's a lot of catchy melodies in general, and like the cadence in which he's saying these songs or singing these songs. Because even Wale's kind of singing and being melodic on here, I can see how that kind of plays into women, but also like how it doesn't feel like a rap album. Um, this music is very heavy. Like if you're talking about this album in particular, this music is very heavy on the R&B samples and features and the melodic flows. You know how many people would say that like Drake is not hip hop, right? Like Drake wasn't rapping or making rap albums. Like if you say that about Drake, then you got to say that about Wale on this joint or whatever, because yeah, he was not. It's not really a rap album. Not really a rap album. Um, when I break down the tracks, right? So there's like 18 tracks to altogether. It's really 17 tracks. And more than half of these songs are melodic or have some type of like melody or like sample, or it's not even rap. Like there's songs on here that are not even rap songs at all, whatever. So like I would say Blanco. That's yeah, very R&B filled. Power and Problems that has the R&B sample. Watching Us featuring Leon Thomas. Need I say more? YSF, the song YSF, that's like an Afro beats track, whatever. That's not hip hop at all. The song Big Head, they got some Nigerian bull on there, so that's probably some more Afro beats. Again, not a rap song. City on Fire. Now, City on Fire is fire, but it features Ordeal. Ordeal is one, yo, he's like this hot up and coming R&B singer. If you haven't heard any tracks of him, he's fire. He's fire, whatever. But like that's an R&B track, whatever. City on Fire, the Leon Thomas Jones, the R&B track. Fly Away is heavy, heavy, heavy R&B on there. Corner Bottles, um, he's melodic, even like the hook. Corner Bottles, sleepless night, like it's on some Kid Cudi vibes. It's on some, you know what I mean? It's on some stuff like that. It's on some like Travis Scott type stuff, like just all the melodies. Like I featuring Andrew Day, very R&B heavy. The song Lonely is with Shabuzi, and that joint is like a country song for real. And then Tomorrow Today, another heavy, heavy melodic song, whatever. And then so that's 11 of the 17 tracks, actual songs on there. 11 of them I identify as things that's not rap music, whatever. And then even the rap songs. He has a song called Conundrum, right? The very first track. that gives like soul tape vibes, whatever. So like, yes, it's rap, whatever, but like it's rap geared towards a very niche audience. Belly, that's very sample heavy, but it's in Wale's bag though. Like that kind of track is like something that Wale would put out, whatever. Where to start? I already talked about that track. That's the SWV sample joint. But still has that R&B feel. The only song that really didn't have that R&B feel was maybe Conundrum, and then this Michael Fredo song, Mirror on the Benz, whatever. That's I don't even know what you would classify that. I guess that's a rap song, but it's a good album. It's a really good album, but people are almost acting like this is his best album ever. Um, when in fact it's just his best album in maybe the last 5 years, right? I mean, and yes, 5 years is a long time to like. And again, his last album was what 4 years ago. His last album was like 4 years ago. Actually, yeah. This is his best album in the last 6 years. I keep thinking it's 2024. This is his best album in probably the last 6 years. Because 4 years ago, he dropped the album that didn't really resonate. I mean, so yes, he does have a good discography. And I think he just dropped this at the right time. I think this is probably the most perfect time for Wale to drop an album because hip hop is quiet for real. Like not a lot of people are getting recognition for their rap music, and then it don't matter if your rap is melodic or not. Like you can still get nominated and you can still get recognition for your songs. Mm. But I would just say that yeah, like this album is really good, but I wouldn't classify this as rap music though. You know what I'm saying? And but like I said, he dropped it at a perfect time because you know what I mean, music is kind of R&B heavy right now. I think he's gonna. I think the features that he has on there, like they're very strategic. Like having Leon Thomas as a feature, having Ordeal as a feature right now, like that's like the best thing that you could do. And like that is Wale's bag. Wale's bag is like the rap verses with the singer on there, and then the content. All the content too is like very like introspective, like that's the thing, like Wale is not really a niche. He hasn't niched out. Like he don't just talk about gangster shit. He don't just talk about partying. He don't just talk about shoes and being fly. He has like he has that like introspective rap, like and this album, a lot of it is talking about like healing. It feels like this album is all about like healing and like not settling and not putting himself into the same situations that he has been in for years, whatever. So solid album for real, really solid, really good album. But I am gonna put a caveat on that. This is not a rap album though. You know what I mean? People ain't gonna hear that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it don't move the needle for rap at all. But it does feed the culture with some really good music for the foreseeable future. You know what I mean? Until something else becomes popular or whatever. But I'm happy for Wale. I'm proud of him. Um, and hopefully this gets just the recognition and like the sales, and and I say sales because streams. I don't know, like I don't, I understand it, but it's like it's not that transparent to me. Like what I mean, I don't know how he's doing, whatever. But hopefully his songs is moving up the charts. But again, he got a lot of joints though, a lot of catchy ass songs on there. Like, and that's how I could see people having like being in a chokehold a little bit. But yeah, this is something different. Like this is Wale has never focused a full album on this type of vibe, and so like this might be his. If this is successful, this might be his wheelhouse, and then we'll start changing definitions. But like as of now, this ain't a rap album, but it's still a really good album though. Check that out if you haven't already. But how'd y'all do tonight, man? How'd y'all like this, man? So yeah, this week, man, we talked about sports, we talked about Shedeur Sanders, we talked about the Packers, we talked about Wale's latest album, we talked about the Eddie Murphy documentary, and yeah, we talked about kids, please stay in school because there are more important. Like math is not the only subject that you need to know. You need to know some other things, and reading is fundamental, man. Do not ever forget that, man. Be careful with these celebrities. Be careful with these people that you look up to, because they not all that. A lot of these guys are not all that bright, but also some of these people is not somebody to look up to in the first place. So just be careful out there. Think of real world role models. You know what I mean? And don't just kind of buy into the hype. But yeah, man, it's a dope episode. We got some other things we'll talk about next week, man. Hopefully we can talk about some more sports. Maybe a show or movie or something like that I'll tune into in the next week or so. But yeah, man, this is episode 216 of the 280 Plus podcast. I'm your host, Steph. I'm out, y'all. Peace.